All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Happy New Year. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for being with us and being a part of the conversation. Folks, you know what we're going to talk about today, the big conversation that's happening out of Harvard University, where Harvard University president, Ms. Claudine Gay, has officially resigned from the position. She was the first Black woman to serve as the president of the established institution, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened there. Also, we're going to be checking in with Dr. Bridget for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness, even though it's Tuesday, but we still got to talk about some big things like new treatment for kids with puberty starting early, for girls with puberty starting early, and new treatment for kids with food allergies. We're going to talk a little bit about that and a whole lot more. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the Black Star, to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. I hope that you enjoyed the transition into the new year, that you spent some time. There you go. How about that? Big shout out to y'all, each and every one of you who are tuning in and being a part of the conversation. I am your host, Farajii Muhammad, and I truly appreciate you and thank you for kicking off our first day back for the new year, 2024. Who would have believed that this would come in 365 days? We got a lot to talk about, but let me do a big shout out to my online culture crew that's gathering right now in the chat. There you go. Big shout out to the crew that's on the Facebook page as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's Facebook page. We're also streaming on X, so big shout out to the crew on the X platform. And of course, it's the home platform of our YouTube page, Roland Martin's YouTube page. Big shout out to my crew there. I see Pastor Dana Bissett. There we go. Pastor Deidre Hall, Cindy D. I see Lori Parks. Who else we see? Happy. Thank you for joining us. Who else we got in here? Miss Pauline, Willie Frazier, big brother Willie Frazier. Y'all are back in a full effect. I can't wait to chat with y'all about this, man. We got a lot to talk about. We're streaming on a number of different platforms. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com and download the app. Follow us on social media and give to we're on that platform. You can also check us out on the Amazon platforms on a number of different spaces, on the Amazon News, on your Fire TV. We're also on Amazon Prime Video, where you can find us under the Prime Video app. Under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com. Under Prime Video, then Live TV, The News. And we're on Freevee 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're now available on Now under News. And we're on Plex TV 24/7 as well. Search for Black Star Network. We'll find us under Live TV, The News, and Opinions. Okay, let's jump right into it. Many of you are chomping at the bit about this situation, and I wanted to have a conversation because we had a discussion about President Claudine Gay, the former president, the ex-president of Harvard University. And it's been official, folks, that she is deciding to move on. And not without controversy. She's only been in the job for 6 months, and she was trying to hold it down until a contentious House Education and the Workforce Committee hearing titled Holding Campus Leaders Accountable and Confronting Anti-Semitism that happened on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. on December the 5th of last year. And that's when things started to kind of unravel, when President Claudine Gay, according to some, did not take a hardline stance against quote unquote anti-Semitism that was happening on campus. And really, it was just a lot of students protesting who had a more pro-Palestinian stance on what's going on between Israel and Hamas. So the college president announced today that she is stepping down. She said, quote, "It is with a heavy heart but a deep love for Harvard that I write to share that I will be stepping down as president. After consultation with members of the corporation, it has been clear that it is in the best interest of Harvard for me to resign so that our community can navigate this moment of extraordinary challenge with a focus on the institution rather than any individual. She did not say when she plans to formally step down, but she described the decision as difficult beyond words. Mm, Now, she also talked a little bit about the controversy. She said, amidst all of this, it has been distressing to have doubt cast on my commitments to confronting hate and to upholding scholarly rigor, two bedrock values that are fundamental to who I am, and frightening to be subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus. 6 months into her presidency, first Black president of Harvard University, nearly 400-year history, and the second woman. She acknowledged that her tenure was short, folks. She said that when my brief presidency is remembered, I hope it will be seen as a moment of reawakening to the importance of striving to find our common humanity and of not allowing rancor and vituperation to undermine the vital process of education. Look, I'm going to take a quick pause here. And I want to get your take on this, crew. Join us in the conversation as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page, Roland Martin's Facebook page. We're on the X platform. Join us in the discussion. What do you make of this? What do you think of this? She was criticized and ostracized, and not just her. There was other university presidents. A couple of them were women university presidents of major companies, major colleges and universities that decided to step down. She was holding the line. Speaking of President Gay, she was holding the line. She was not ousted as it was originally reported the last time we talked about this, that she would stay, that the board told her that everything was going to be in place. But then this happened. So what do y'all make of this? Join us in the conversation. Post your comments on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page. And let me take a quick pause. When we come back, let's see what you got to say about this. As President Claudine Gay, the former president, first Black woman president of Harvard University, has decided to step down amidst a lot of controversy. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now. We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to this culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. We are talking about the big piece that everyone is talking about around the country, how former Harvard president Ms. Claudine Gay has decided to resign, decided to step down from the role as being the first Black woman to run the nearly 400-year-old educational institution. Now, of course, with her being in the position, Harvard has kind of broken a lot of different perceptions and understandings about where the university wanted to go. But just in less than a 6-month period, former President Gay, was embroiled in a controversy, not necessarily was started inside of Harvard. It started as a result of the overall sentiment around the Israel and Hamas war. And as a result of that, allowing students to take a pro-Palestinian stance and not, as some would say, she didn't take a hardline stance on anti-Semitism or really call out anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus, that it opened the door for a lot of things to potentially happen. And more importantly, it opened the door for one of the country's top institutions to be scrutinized, not along with other colleges and universities who did not create a hard stance on where they stood regarding the war. So I wanted to talk to you about this because we talked about this with folks. You know, my sister Corinna Denise, who checked in the chat, and Corinna, Happy New Year. You said, Corinna, she resigned? Wow, I recall discussing her appointment on my first appearance on the show. Crazy. That's right, Corinna, you did. And it was like 6 months ago. And now we're in this place where the university doesn't know how they're going to move forward. She hasn't identified a successor. The university hasn't come out with any new name. So that is in the process. But it's just the simple fact that in the 6-month period of time, that she really could not do what she wanted to do. So I want to get your take on this, crew. Share your thoughts, post your comments on our chat on YouTube. You can go to Roland Martin's YouTube page and you'll find us there. Janae, thank you for checking in. And Happy New Year, Janae. You said this is a double-edged sword. We need more of us in these positions, yet sustaining it, external factors, not due to merit. She is qualified is the problem. Sad. That's right. I could not agree with you more, Janae, because at the end of the day, we want Black folks, Black faces in all spaces, right? We want Black folks to do these things. But when you are this is Harvard University. This is not a community college. This is not just some state school. This is Harvard University. This is the standard of education in a lot of different ways, right? So is he like Harvard and Yale, Harvard and this is Harvard University. Y'all remember I had Dr. Carr on my show some time ago, the great Dr. Greg Carr, and we were talking about the endowment of Harvard University. I'll never forget what he shared in terms of, you know, this was the time when Harvard put out a grand statement saying that they apologize for their involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. And Dr. Carr was basically kind of getting to the meat of that situation. But he shared with us at that time that Harvard has a $50 billion endowment. I mean, the numbers are staggering in terms of the amount of money and revenue that they are able to get from alumni and from other places and institutions. A $50 billion endowment. And I mean, when you think about that, that's just one university, folks, one Ivy League university, a $50 billion endowment. So they have come a long way. This is the standard. And having a Black woman in this position was big, absolutely big. But back to what you said, Janae, if you're talking about sustaining that institution, there are going to be some things that she probably had to face personally as well as professionally in terms of upholding the Harvard way. The Harvard way. Now, she decided to resign. It will be interesting because I truly believe that more details about the situation will come out. What was the reason for her resignation when they had already agreed? I'm talking about her and the board and all of the decision makers at Harvard had agreed that she would stay. All right, Deidre, you checked in. Deidre Hall, you said, Happy New Year, Deidre. You said Farajii, they didn't want her there in the first place. Yeah, but they hired her, though. They hired her. And I think, and again, we can't until more details, but you can only speculate. And this is the challenge that faces Black people in this country. And I'm going to take another pause after this. The challenge that faces Black folks in this country, going back to what you said, Janae, we want Black faces in positions of power and influence and that can move the needle on a lot of things, right? But the stakeholders, those that you have to report to, are not Black people. So at the end of the day, she still has to do the work and take care of the bidding of folks that don't look like her. She still has to walk the fine line of pushing the envelope while at the same time maintaining and sustaining the system. And this is something I've always been thinking about, is that do we want to continue to push our people to be in those places? Yes, it's important to break some barriers. Yes, it's important just to have a seat at the table. But some of these institutions, and I'm not saying Harvard, I'm just make me think about the bigger picture. I'm not just a Harvard-like educational institution or even a corporation, but do we want to continue to advocate for that? I hope y'all feeling what I'm saying. Do we want to continue to advocate for that? So let's take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to talk about this as we talk about former president of Harvard, Ms. Claudine Gay, has officially resigned from Harvard University. Not saying when that will happen, who will take her place, but it has created even more controversy for the 6-month president. And so I want to get you to take more of this. Post your comments on Rolling Partners YouTube page and stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat to the Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We have been talking about the major breaking news out of Harvard University, where President Claudine Gay has announced that she will be resigning from the position as just only after 6 months of service to the institution and to the Harvard community. This is coming in the midst of a number of much controversy about her stance and that infamous contentious hearing that was facilitated by the House Education and Workforce Committee back in December, where the president went back and forth with legislators about the stance that the university would take against anti-Semitism, where some lawmakers say that the stance is not hard enough in calling out anti-Semitism, allowing pro-Palestinian rallies to happen on campus, and essentially making Jewish students feel less comfortable being on campus. This has been some of the complaint. Now, the president has said, President Gay said that she was going to move forward. There has not been a date yet, or there has not been any successor yet. But we reported here on the show that she was also told just a few weeks ago that she was going to stick around in the midst of this anti-Semitism controversy. Well, now that things have certainly changed. Now, there's something else that came up in this situation, that there was a complaint that was filed against President Gay, and this is something the House Education and Workforce Committee said that they would start to investigate. They said that they would investigate this back in December. But there were some allegations of plagiarism against President Gay. Now, President Gay, she completed her doctorate at Harvard in 1997, and she taught at the university, but now she's facing allegations that she plagiarized passages of other scholars' writings in her dissertation and other academic papers. Yeah, folks. It gets crazy. There's a conservative publication called the Washington Free Beacon that published an unsigned complaint Monday that referred to these new allegations of plagiarism, essentially exacerbating the whole controversy. I'm going to take it to you, crew, because I want to hear what y'all got to say. We're not talking to anybody else except for you today. So about this issue. So what do y'all make of that? What do y'all make of that? Post your comments on our YouTube page as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, on Roland Martin's Facebook page. All right, let me go back to what y'all are saying about this whole situation, because this thing right here, this has gotten so deep. So deep. Conscious Thought, you take a hardline stance, Conscious Thought. And first and foremost, brother, Happy New Year. You say no Black person should ever, in quotes, attend any, in quotes, of the 7 Ivy Leagues, in quotes, schools: Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, ever again. Wow. That's a very, very hardline stance, because we as Black folks, we advocate, we compel. Some of us are graduates of these major institutions, and we tell our children that this is the direction you should go. If you want to get ahead in life, if you want to beat out the competition, if you want to put yourself in a network that is going to support you, and if more importantly, if you want to be respected, then you want to go to one of these 7 Ivy League schools. But Conscious Thought, you're saying no Black person should ever attend any of these 7 schools. Wow. I'm gonna let people marinate on that one. Lori Parks, thank you, Conscious. Lori Parks, my sister, you said it was all about the money. Harvard donations were dropping between the lines of all of this. She's a Black female who got that higher position over 100 years since Harvard been established to hire her. Yeah. Could be the money. But how do y'all make this allegation of plagiarism? How do we kick that into the mix? Tiz, my guy, Tiz, you checked in and said, Farajii, it's the standard because they built it that way. It's their university, so it is what it is. When we start to build our own, then we are in control. We need to control our own stakeholders, right? Right. So that gets back to Tiz. You bring back to the point that I'm making before the break, right? We got a couple of things cooking in this conversation. We got the plagiarism conversation. We got folks who are saying, like Hunter starts saying, that our Ivy League schools are all dangerous and poisonous. Essentially, like we should not be supporting Ivy League schools. Now we're talking about the fact, and to the point that I was making, and Tiz, you elaborated on it. It's their university, quote unquote. It's their company. We don't have control. We become a figurehead. So should we continue to try to put ourselves in spaces and places where we know that at the end of the day, as much as we want to try to change the culture, change the direction, there's still going to be some things on the agenda of those decision makers that like a Harvard and Yale or a corporation in America where we can have, you might have a black CEO, or you might have the first black person this, first black woman here, first black man there. But these are not our companies, right? These are not our institutions. So we have to still play by the rules of the game that they have set out for us. And is this something that we want to continue to advocate for? And more importantly, is this something we want to continue to do? I got to take another quick pause. Tiz, thank you so much for posting that, for continuing the conversation on that point. Stay with me, folks. We still got a lot more to cover. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We've been talking about President Claudine Gay, the Harvard University president, the first Black woman university president of Harvard. Ms. Claudine Gay has announced that she will be resigning from the position. She didn't give us any details as to when it will happen or who will succeed her, but she says that it's with difficulty that she had decided to make this decision. She is resigning in the midst of a number of different controversies, one being the big one about her stance, or the university stance, against anti-Semitism that brought her into the forefront of the whole country, along with other university presidents, women university presidents. And as a result of that, it just created a firestorm of hate and criticism of the Black woman. But then the second part of that is this ongoing allegations of plagiarism. And as we shared with you in the last segment, that there was a complaint, an unsigned complaint that was filed based upon this allegation of plagiarism. Now, let me just share this with you very quickly, folks, that the Harvard Corporation, because this allegations of plagiarism came up during that December 5th hearing in Washington, D.C. of college and university presidents, the Harvard Corporation, they ordered an investigation. They quote, that revealed a few instances, this is coming from them, Harvard Corporation, revealed a few instances of inadequate citation, but found no violation of Harvard standards for research misconduct. A few instances of inadequate citation, but they found no violation of Harvard standards for research misconduct. Talking about the dissertation that President Gay had to write in order to take herself to the next level. So I wanted just to throw this out there. And some of you are having some very interesting takes on this. And this is why I love having these type of conversations with you, crew, because y'all bringing some analysis that's probably better than a lot of talking heads. I know that. I know that. All right, let's go back to what you have to say. Cindy D, you responded. You said, it is okay for Blacks and other minorities to get the best education possible. You know you will be watched. About plagiarize, we have to be better than everyone else. It puts pressure for excellence. Yes, it does. Now, is it fair? No. But is it something that we do have to be mindful of? And Cindy D, I'm of the school of thought, sis, that if we keep acting as if we're not in a space of double standard when it comes to our performance, our qualifications compared to our white counterpart, then we're going to be sadly mistaken and we're going to be left behind. This is the reality that we're in. We are constantly measured to a double standard that doesn't apply to white people, that is not fair to us to even work ourselves up to. But guess what? That's part of the cost of being Black in America. I'm gonna just say it just like that. So I think what you have to say is very, very right. Sandra, you said, if don't say who is signing this all of a sudden, let's make her look back on her way out. If you're messing with someone, it's integrity, you need to sign your damn name to things. Talking about this unsigned complaint. I agree. Couldn't disagree with you on that at all. I couldn't disagree with that. Sandra, thank you so much. You don't like my music? You check it in. Good to connect with you once again, and Happy New Year. You said it's 2024 and I'm feeling revolutionary. I hear that, man. I hear that. Yo, if 2024 doesn't bring in something, a different type of energy and spirit, like as much as we've been talking about that's been happening in this country, you mean to tell me in 2024, we're going to still go into this brand new year with all of these challenges, this major elections at the end of the year, we got all of this stuff at stake, and we're not feeling like, you know what? I'm not feeling like what you don't like my music is feeling like. He feeling revolutionary, I'm feeling revolutionary. And revolutionary doesn't necessarily mean you're going to bear your arm, pick up guns and storm the Capitol like we saw on January the 6th. But revolutionary means that something different has to be done. Because folks, y'all remember the definition of insanity? I think it goes along the lines that the definition of insanity is when you continue to do the same thing expecting different results. So what's the revolution in that? How do we get from that space into a space where we're not doing the same thing, we're doing different things, getting results? I'm feeling you don't like my music. I like that. I appreciate that. Cindy D, you said, I said that we need a revolution and a reawakening on this country. Absolutely. So now there's also been that some said that HBCUs need to possibly get into the mix. Imagine bringing a talent, a professional, an administrator like a Claudine Gay to an HBCU. That could possibly happen. And I'm sure that there's going to be some conversation about that. But are HBCUs ready? Are we making sure that HBCUs, and I know, and you know, it's crazy, and I hate to say it like this, but I feel like it needs to be said, that when white America finishes with you, then we always push for, oh, black people, black America can pick up the trash and clean up the situation, right? Like whether it's with our athletes, whether it's coaches, whether it's with administrators, it's like, let's bring them on to the, and I mean, y'all figure it out. Whether, you know, maybe we can't, you know, black folks, and I don't think that folks really understand, but I think we can't undervalue ourselves. We are saving America from itself, folks. I'm going to just say it just like that. Black America is saving all of America from itself. Can I say that one more time, crew? Black America is saving all of America from itself. So when stuff is going down in America, then Black America in some way, shape, or form comes to the rescue. Even though we're not appreciated, we're not credited, even though we're not given the justice, we're not told the truth, we are always saving America from herself. Okay. McCole, you said, so let me get this straight. After almost 26 years after receiving her doctoral degree from Harvard University, allegations that she plagiarized some or all of her dissertation, get out of here. See that? See that? I hear you. I hear you. Shambra Mulder, Shambra, welcome to the culture. Welcome to the chat. You said Harvard was trying to improve their reputation, student admissions, and presidency, and became more black friendly and will be punished, and become more black friendly and will be punished. Here's the only thing, and I think that, and I agree with you, because I feel like part of this stance that Harvard has taken in hiring President Gay and everything. Like, she's qualified. She has been a part of the staff for a long time. She knows the systems of Harvard University. So I understand why they decided to do that. And it's a shame, Shambra, I think you will agree with me on this. It's a shame that when we do get into positions of power and high influence, like a president of a major university like Harvard University, it's not because of the person's merit all the time, right? It's because there was some sort of political motivation behind the move, right? Just like what we saw with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? Like even though she's qualified and everything, it gets a little bit overshadowed because of the political motivations. Again, I'm going back to my point that when stuff starts falling, when they say when shit hits the fan in this country, Black America got to come in some way, shape, or form, be the superheroes of justice. I'm using your words, Cindy D. We are the superheroes of American justice. We save other people in our pursuit to save this country, and yet we are still the ones that are left to be saved. Woo! We be saving other people for ourselves. We get everybody else out the burning house, right? And then we go back in, and then when we need and when we go back in to save another person, get a broken ankle, and we ask people to save us, and we got everybody else. We was trying to get one last person out the burning house. We break our ankle, and now we can't move, we can't walk, we can't run. And as a result of that, now we sit in the house, nobody's gonna save us. Who will save Black America from America? Let's go to one more. Davy Floater, she got fired because Israel, period. The plagiarism allegation is just a smokescreen. I think so. Davy, I think so. I think so. Johnny Davis, you said it's sort of an unwanted compliment. We understand fully why they can't see us get a foothold in any way, shape, or form, with the difference being we don't hate anyone. It's hard to hate everyone, man. You know, man, it takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of yourself to hate anyone. And I know it might be easy, but it's hard, man. It's hard. More importantly, it's harder to not just hate somebody, but to create systems to keep people that you hate in a state of servitude, in a state of slavery, suffering, and death. It's hard. And when you go that far to show your displeasure or to show your hatred of another group of people, that hatred turns satanic. Y'all listening? Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? So what we do? What we supposed to do with this? What we supposed to do with this? Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. You know it's going to be talked about. I want y'all to tune into Roland Martin's tonight, Roland RMU tonight, because this is going to be discussed without a shadow of doubt, and figure out what's the best course of action. But this is a telltale sign. I don't think this is something that we can kind of just graze over. Oh, this is another topic. This is another current event. I truly believe that this is a sign that we might have to do. And I'm going back to what you say. You don't like my music. It's 2024. I'm thinking revolutionary. We got to think differently, because I'm trying to get out of this insanity cycle, this insane cycle that we find ourselves in. We keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. I'm trying to do some different things. And even if it don't garner the result I may have, a result may happen. Something may happen. It may not be what I planned for, may not be what I wanted necessarily, but if I'm doing something different with the spirit of trying to change, in the spirit of liberation, then something good could happen from different action with different and new expectations. Y'all with me on that? Look, got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we switch gears. Let's talk about health and wellness, talking about reclaiming your wellness with Dr. Bridget, and of course with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking about Harvard University, but wanted to switch gears because it's Tuesday, but we didn't get a chance because of the New Year's Day. I didn't want us to go another week without hearing from our great doctor. So wanted to switch gears a little bit and have this week's Reclaim Your Wellness today. And we're going to be joined by Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams. Let's go. All right, Doc.
Hi, Farajii. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Doc. How are you?
Good. You got me a little heated over here about,
about President Gay?
This thing with her. I hope we talk about it a lot. I hope a lot of people talk about it. I hope that she is not sent away with her tail between her legs as if she did something that every single last one of these students have done with their dissertations at some point. This is a witch hunt. They were looking and they were trying to find, just like they have always done with this. They did it with Obama. They've done it with anyone that's gotten into a level of power that they don't like. They do the witch hunt. We have a man that was formerly president that literally has caused incredible trauma to this country, and he's still running for president again. And, but it hasn't been proven yet. But you forget to do the right citation, and this woman's losing her job. It makes no sense to me.
Okay. Which I understand.
Yes.
I understand the feeling. And I think that is the big part of this whole thing, which is at the root of it, it's racism. It could be sexism, right? Like, Harvard might be. And again, she decided, but we don't know what happened behind closed doors, right, Doc? Like we don't know, especially when you're talking about a major institution. I said it at the beginning, a $50 billion endowment fund for Harvard University alone. This is like a Fortune 500 company, more so than just an educational institution. And I think that it opens the conversation for us. How much do we want to advocate for us to be in these positions? They can be high profile, they can be influential, they're very powerful. But at the end of the day, you're still subjected to someone else's view of you, to the point where they can just take the rug right from underneath of you and say, you know what, your time is here. But that wasn't the case in her case. I mean, she resigned, but again, we don't know what the conversations are behind closed doors.
Right. And under what pressure did she resign? And we're talking about someone that did not put enough quotation marks. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
But some people would say, Doc, real quick, some people would say that a woman of her caliber, qualifications, and educational acumen, that she should know better, right? And I'm saying some Black folks will say, come on, man, like you should be hitting all the marks. You should be crossing your T's, dotting your I's. You can't be putting out half-ass work. What do you say to folks like that?
First of all, I'm confident it wasn't half-ass work. What we really are talking about is quotation marks, which everyone at some point or another did not go back and put the right citation or the correct citation in the right place. I mean, these are nuances. This is a witch hunt. This is someone looking for some way to bring people down. You're also talking about her dissertation, which means that she, as a graduate student, if I'm and correct me if I'm wrong, did not do the correct amount of citation. What this does is tells us, look, little black girl, don't get out of line, don't get out of your place, because we will take you down. Does that not cause, I mean, yes, that means that we have always had to do more and do better to get half as far, but does that create some sort of anxiety in young graduate students and college students saying, oh my God, if they're taking her down for that, gosh, you know, I jaywalked back in third grade. I better not try to apply for a higher position. Better not, because I know I have that little bit of dirt in my background. What are we talking about? We're talking about quotation marks. Look, no, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with it because I know what it does to young men and young women that do strive for more. How hard did they try to take down Obama, and what they decided he wasn't an American citizen, like, which was totally when they can't find something, they make up something to find. It's infuriating.
I think and I would agree with you. I think the part that gets under my skin more than anything is that we're expected, and I'm saying as black folks in this country, we're expected to be excellent and damn near perfect every time we go into white spaces. And yet nobody wants to, and I'm saying that the country really doesn't truly want to address the source of our trauma, our pain, but we're expected to just quote unquote pull up your bootstraps, forget about the past, and move on. When no other group of people, Doc, has been called to do that. No other group of people, they can air their grievances, they can get all the type of support that they need. But when we're talking about with black folks, and I'm not saying that we haven't gotten no gains. I don't want to put us in a conversation like that. We've made some gains. But I'm saying that considering when you look at the challenges versus the wins, it feels like a nail biter in the game. You get a little bit, we make some gains here, the next thing you know, something pushes us back. You know, we make gains in the educational space, then Supreme Court said no, affirmative action is not going to happen. Then you make gains in women's reproductive rights, and then guess what? That happens. Nope, but that's not going to happen. And it's like, damn, bro, like we got to be perfect. But the people who was running the system, they are far from perfect.
Far from it. So the concern that I have is, yes, we've made, obviously, we have progressed and we've made gains since the 1950s and 60s and so what have you, but at the cost of increased emotional trauma and anxiety and PTSD. Yeah. Being in this space, being in white America, knowing that you can't make a mistake, that you can't, not, mess up the conjugation of your verbs and without someone looking at you wrong, and that you forget to put a quotation mark and you're losing that anxiety that is produced for us. I think there are many people that would say, you know what, keep your stinking job, because I'd rather have my mental health. And that's huge. Ever going to be perfect. So let's just forget that. Yes, we've made gains, but at what cost?
Whew. And you're a healthcare professional. So, I mean, you know more than a lot of us know that the gains that we make, when we make it at a fundamental cost, the way that we've been making them, Doc, it plays on how you see yourself. It adds to the stress of life. Mm-hmm. And of course that reverberates through the household, through the families and the communities that we're a part of. And it's like we never get out of the two-ness. I remember Frantz Fanon said that there's a two-ness that black folks exist in this country. We never get out of that two-ness space. We always got to be better than our brother or sister, but then we can't be too much better than our white counterpart. And then at the same time, we got to play the role of being revolutionary to the system, but at the same time willing to play the game in order to get it.
Yeah. And it's the pressure and the stress. I understand that she chose to resign, but under what conditions? Under what mental stress? I'm sure she just didn't say, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I forgot to put." Anyone else, any other racial group, they would have said, "Oh, it was an oversight." We're talking, when was this? This was her dissertation. How long had she had her degree? We're talking about someone had to go back, 10 years? 15,
Probably.
20 years?
Probably.
To find, and they had to go paragraph by paragraph, putting it into a system until they found one that matched exactly without the right citation. You can keep your job.
There it is.
And maybe that's what she decided. Maybe that's what it brought.
And Doc, very quickly, I know we got to take another pause, but very quickly, what do you say to, not to like a President Gay, because she has a high profile position and all of that, but what about those of us who are not working in high profile, those managers and supervisors, and those of us who just work, we work in corporate America, we work in some of the other spaces, and we go through these mental anguish each and every day. What do we do?
I think we first need to acknowledge the reality of that mental anguish. I think we need to be able to pull back. And because we just live like this. This is just who we are, right? We don't really acknowledge the fact that we're under extreme stress, trauma, PTSD. We're really just now coming into a time where we're acknowledging the fact that being Black in America puts you at an increased higher risk of mental health issues. We're just now even acknowledging that because we never wanted to say that out loud. So first of all, when you're in those positions, whatever level of management or whatever level you've achieved, that the stress that you're experiencing is real. And we have to acknowledge it first before we can actually do anything helpful about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're experiencing every day, the tension you're experiencing, the fact that it leads, as we have seen, to additional and more severe health problems is real.
Absolutely.
And if you acknowledge that, now maybe we can do the work to do something about it.
Absolutely. Karen Connor, my sister, you checked in. Happy New Year, Karen. You said white people make errors in their own spaces while expecting us to be perfect in the same spaces. I call this out when it occurs because I am not having it.
Right. And it's cute when they do it. Oh, my bad. Whatever. No.
But I think this is, and I'm going to take a quick pause. It's not just a white or Black issue in a sense that there's so much stress that's put on Black America. And I'm going to go back to my thesis statement on this. There's so much stress to be put on our people who have been the most oppressed of all people in this country. We've been the most oppressed. Look at the history, folks. But then at the same time, we are the ones most counted on to get America out of the tight spot she finds herself in when it comes to civil liberties and human rights. Mm-hmm. We're the go-to folks. Right.
Right on our back.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So if you want any type of civil liberties or human rights, if you have any of those interests, then go to Black folks. We set the standard. We blaze the trail for other groups of people to get things such as, whatever rights they want, whatever respect they deserve. But we're the standards on that. Look, we got to take a quick pause. Stay with us. It's the Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Pull up a chair, take your seat to the Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Menthol cools and numbs the throat, making it easier for kids to start smoking. Menthol also increases addiction, making it harder for smokers to quit. Menthol cigarettes are a big reason why black Americans have a harder time quitting smoking and die at higher rates from smoking-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, and stroke. It's time to stop big tobacco from profiting off black lives. An FDA ban on menthol cigarettes will improve black health, save lives, and protect future generations from addiction. Learn more at tobaccofreekids.org/ban menthol.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. Joined by my sister and our medical expert here on the show, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, as we have another segment of Reclaim Your Wellness with Dr. Bridget. And make sure y'all follow Dr. Bridget on all social media platforms. And more importantly, continue to check in her out here every week on The Culture. She generally joins us on Mondays at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. But we wanted to have her on today because it's the start of the new year, and she just got so much to bring to the table. She got so much to say. So we wanted to do that. But make sure you post your questions also as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page and Facebook page. And make sure y'all definitely check her out when she does her after chats at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss what we talk about on the show, but more importantly, to discuss things that are credible and something that are very important to you in regards to your health and wellness. So, Doc, I appreciate you for being on here. Let's switch gears from talking about what's going on with CART President, and I want to get your take on a couple of things related to our children.
Yes.
The first being the situation. I saw this piece and I was like, I got to talk to the doctor about this, about puberty and how there is some type of gains that are being made in treating girls and girls and boys, but we're treating puberty starting early, and how doctors, according to a new NBC News report, doctors are urging greater awareness and care as they're saying that a growing number of children are showing signs of puberty at significantly younger ages than the average. And
Yes.
that many families are struggling to get the correct diagnosis or any type of correct treatment. What's this all about, Doc?
So it is a problem because I have seen it in my own practice. I have struggled to get help diagnosing children that have come into my practice to get additional help. I've had it happen in my own family as well. And so what they're realizing, and you said girls and boys, it happens in boys as well, but it much less. But puberty really starts to develop around age 8 or 9 in girls, 9 in boys. And what they're seeing is that we're seeing expressions of puberty actually starting much earlier in 4 and 5-year-olds. And when this it starts to occur, it is hard to get sometimes the medical community to get on board. And so it's been an issue for people. I think one part that is particular for this audience is that it tends to happen more in Black girls more than white girls. And so we definitely need the help and the awareness so that we can get the help that would be, that can slow this down. And so that it doesn't become an issue so quickly. You know, we already have a problem in this country where children are over-sexualized. And when this starts to happen earlier on, it can cause a tremendous amount of issues for young girls. And so we have to work on this.
So let's talk a little bit about that. What happens if puberty does occur? And it's crazy. You said 4 or 5 years old?
Yeah. So sometimes we start to see girls that are developing breasts fairly early. They have growth spurts way too quickly. They're starting their periods way too young. What is considered within normal is even as early as 9 years old. which is when the average is about 12 and a half. But younger than 9 and starting her period is clearly an issue. And to be honest, a 9-year-old with their period can be very traumatic. And so it's important we have these conversations so that what does one do? And understand that there are hormonal blockers that can be given to slow this down, because sometimes you'll have these growth spurts and the period starts. It can actually slow growth at that point. It can cause, society sees them as being older. You have to have a certain amount of maturity to manage having your menstrual cycle. Many times it causes not only emotional trauma, but it can cause societal, interaction and development, as far as how people interact with you, and as far as how your body develops. And so sometimes parents just assume, oh, well, the child's overweight, that's why they're developing breasts. Being a little overweight and developing breasts are not the same. And so it's important to get in and see your doctor. And if you have questions, ask. And if the answer is not adequate, you need to see a pediatric endocrinologist.
Wow. So let's talk about, because when I hear that there is some sort of early onset of something, especially within the body, the first thing I tend to believe, Doc, is what's going on with the food situation. Like, what is the child taking in? And ABX girl, one of our great culture crew members, she's right there with me. She said, it's the awful food supply and those darn soy baby formulas. Is the food supply? Is it the fact that there's soy in some of these formulas, and soy has has been known to carry a high level of hormones and whatnot? Is that part of the problem, and it forces the body to react in a way where puberty starts to happen much earlier than expected?
I don't know if we know for sure. We know that there might be a dietary issue. I've definitely have seen where we've discussed it being the formula or hormones in chicken or what have you. But whether it's the diet, whether when you have obesity, it does produce more estrogen in your body. So is it obesity? Is it genetics? If you started to have your period younger, your child most likely will have it as well. But they're also saying it might be other chemicals that we haven't identified yet, as well as socioeconomics. Keep in mind, stress in itself can be a factor. That what we're seeing is that children are starting puberty faster and earlier every decade. Okay. We found even with COVID. And so we're talking a lot about Black girls, but they also said in Italy that there was a rapid increase in precocious puberty, which is the medical diagnosis for this, in girls during lockdown, as well as in Korea, Turkey, and in China. So the stress in itself might be a factor in this, which I could, when I look at this and what the possibilities are, I think there's a lot of things that might play into it. But I suspect that stress, or how your body is interpreting stress, can have a huge factor in this.
Oh, I can only imagine. I can imagine it being stressful. I can imagine it being scary, especially for little girls, for little Black girls, right? And, I want to get your take on this, because culturally, when we growing up, and I've heard this, and I'm sure you heard this as well, in our culture, we say a girl is moving too fast, she's too grown. We put certain things on the little girl that she's not prepared to mentally and emotionally handle. Oh, that's little mama over there. Or oh yeah, man, she's good, man. By the time she's 18, she going to be killer. And we put all of these type of messages to these little girls, but then we wonder why there is a hypersexuality among Black girls, right? Because it's not only reinforced by the people in our families, it's also reinforced by the media in terms of the culture from the media spaces. So how does parents have these conversations, especially mothers? How do Black mothers have conversations with their Black daughters who are going through these early puberty stages and trying to fight back all these cultural messages?
So the first thing I would say is there, we often kind of, I don't know, critique the helicopter parent and the overprotective mom, and be the overprotective mom. Be very aware of what messages your child is coming in contact with. Work even harder to produce a safe emotional environment. Make sure that they are still doing age appropriate things. I mean, it's so hard because take out the precocious puberty, this is a problem in our culture already, whether there's
Yeah.
precocious puberty or not, right? And so then you add in that extra factor where your body is moving faster than your brain, right? And then you're even more put in a situation where you don't know how to handle this, or how do you respond appropriately, or what does this mean about me? Girls that go through early puberty, and not necessarily precocious, but just on the earlier end, deal more with anxiety, they deal more with depression. And so we need to protect our youth. We need to be very conscious about who our children are around, and what exposures that they have, and what they're seeing in social media, and putting all the blocks that you possibly can on the phone and the computer, so they're not being exposed to things that they're not ready for, because they only have one opportunity to grow up. And every day is a new start to make sure your child's going in the right direction, but do your best every day to make sure that they're going that way.
And we got 30 seconds before we take our next pause. What would you advocate, or what would you recommend for dads of daughters, and especially daughters? We can say daughters and sons, but especially daughters.
So I think in particular, dads sometimes start to pull away as their children start to go through puberty. So whether this is precocious puberty or at the normal age range, they still need a dad. And how they learn, my grandfather used to say that, interacting with boys is no different than girls. Like, you treat them like a friend. You don't do anything but treat them like a friend. And if the dad starts to pull away, it gets very confusing, and also gives you low self-esteem because something about you changed, and now dad isn't as close as he used to be.
That's heavy.
Growing with your child.
Children make that connections, like girls make that connection, like, oh, I'm changing, but dad is relating to me differently. He doesn't talk to me like he used to. He doesn't.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And what does it say? It starts to, something's bad with me, something's wrong with me. But then you go to school, and now you're getting this extra attention, some good and some bad, from the boys at school. So then depending on who you are and what your experiences are, you either gravitate towards that because you consider it to be positive attention, you pull away from that because it's scary and uncomfortable attention. But who is the one that is going to tell you what is the right attention is going to be your dad. So do not pull away when your child starts to go through puberty. It is an opportunity to be that man in her life that empowers her, that makes her feel like this is a norm. Life and death and growing and changing is a natural progression of life. If we act like it's weird, it becomes weird. Let's normalize growth and make sure that we stay involved with our kids' lives.
Whew, that's a word, Doc. I know you were a pastor too.
You got me all mad. No. I came in heated. I came in mad.
Let me tell you, that's a real word. I wasn't thinking about it like that, but you're absolutely right. We must normalize changes, because that's what happens in life. That's the only thing they say is constant in life is change. And we must normalize the fact that we're going to grow in a lot of different ways. And you do need both your mom, your dad, whether they're in the household or not in the house, but they just need to be present during those changes. That's a whole word. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to chop it up with the doc as we're talking about reclaim your wellness. Post your comments on our chat as we're streaming on Roland Martin's YouTube page and Roland Martin's Facebook page. And of course, stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We check it in with Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness with Dr. Bridget. And as we talked about early puberty onset, there's another thing that that children. Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to make, because I don't want people to walk away confused, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I do want to make sure, because I'm sure there are some families that are like, wait, what do I need to do? Or, you know, how do I know if I need to do something, right? So what I recommend for people is that if your daughter seems to be developing breasts between ages 7 and 8, maybe about 15% of people actually need treatment, okay? But if your child is younger than 7 and is developing breasts, the majority of those kids need treatment. So, and I'm using that as that marker. So, because what will happen is a lot of families aren't quite sure what to do. Their family doctor or pediatrician said everything's fine. And then all of a sudden they're 8 years old with their period. And you're like, wait, what happened? Right?
Right.
So I'm using this as the marker. If you like between 7 and 8, be aware, go to the doctor, you know, consider that. Right. And keep in mind, I'm also talking about underarm hair, pubic hair. If these things are starting to develop early, when around 7 or 8, they may or may not need treatment. But if they're younger than 7, they are most likely going to need treatment. So make sure that you stay on top of it.
I think that's an excellent point. Excellent point. Thank you so much, Doc, for putting that out there. Now, as we're talking about the onset of puberty, let's talk about another challenge that facing kids' health, which is food allergies. And there is an announcement that was made about children with food allergies may get relief with new treatment. There is an injectable drug by the name of Zolair, Zolair, that was clinically trialed back by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. And drugs, the Zolair drug, was initially used against it was used for asthma and chronic hives. They're now saying that Zolair can now be used against severe reactions to peanuts, eggs, milk, and other foods. Now, I got some questions around this, Doc. I got some real questions around this. And this is something that is being fast-tracked by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, according to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They said this on December the 19th, that it's being fast-tracked for approval by the FDA. But I wonder about allergies, because I feel like when your body, especially children's bodies, are repelling against certain type of foods, peanuts, and some, of course, we know being gluten-free is a major concern in this country, is a big health issue now in this country. When we're seeing those type of allergies, isn't that like a warning sign that we should just listen to the body and not try to force the body to do something that it's not capable of processing and digesting and it's just not capable of doing? And I feel like, is this, you see what I'm going with this, Doc? Are we trying to, because I get it. Look, my son, he's lactose intolerant. And it was just a simple trial and error that we finally came down to understanding, like, he cannot digest milk and cheese the way that, normal way, right? So now that we shifted his diet, he doesn't have that same issue where he was vomiting and all of these things. So we shifted his diet, but we listened to his body. Now I know that he might say, "Dad, give me Zolair. I want to eat this again. I want to be able to eat that." But I'm kind of resistant to that. Talk to me about this, Doc.
Okay,
what do we do?
Being lactose intolerant and these other allergies, the peanut, egg, milk, they're not exactly the same of what we're talking about. The lactose intolerance is not having an enzyme that's working properly so that you can actually digest this without having, flatulence and vomiting and stomach pain and what have you. What we're talking about on the other end here are people that have the potential of dying, being anaphylactic, having severe reactions that could possibly kill them, and sometimes incredibly quickly. Okay. So not having an enzyme that's working well and having an anaphylactic reaction, which happens because the body mistakes the allergen as being a parasitic infection. And our natural immunoglobulin E that pounces on this to say, wait, get out of here, we don't want you, has such a hyper response that it causes multiple reactions, breathing, throat swell. It's almost like your body is like shuts down, right? And you have trouble breathing. You're trying to get this out of you. The body is confused about what you're taking more than it saying, hey, this isn't really good for, your body doesn't necessarily need this and it doesn't really react well to it. So this whole thing with the Zolair is the fact that it's not saying, oh, now you can take the Zolair and eat these things. By no means. What this is saying is that if you're exposed to the peanut, the milk, the egg, and it has to be multiple allergies. And I'll explain that. The reason they're saying this is that if you're taking this and you have exposure, it allows you to take in a little bit more than you usually would without it causing a humongous reaction.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's one thing to avoid peanuts. Okay. It's another thing where you have multiple food allergies and it's hard to avoid everything all the time. You want your kid to go to school and they, it's kind of like they're walking literally on eggshells because it might be that one little treat that they're sharing with a friend that might actually put them over the edge. So what the Zoloft is doing is people that have multiple food allergies with the most severe reactions would take this medication so that they're actually able to ingest more of the allergen without it causing a huge reaction. It's saving the life of a child, more children than adults, but it's saving the life of a child or an adult that has severe reactions so that little bit doesn't kill them.
So, but does it open up the door for long-term, like when do you stop taking Zoloft? I mean, I know what you mentioned. You mentioned like if you're accidentally eating something like a piece of chocolate and you realize, oh snap, it's got some peanuts in this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you take the Zoloft before or after? And then how long? You know, do you keep that process up?
So so you're taking it beforehand and you're taking and I have a good friend whose child has multiple allergies. I could see her welcoming this because the way she's jumping around, like he can't go to a birthday party. If he goes, she has to bring his own cupcake because he can't even share food with other kids. He's in a different classroom. I mean, there's a lot that they have to do to protect this child. So something where he would take this regularly so that if he does happen to, it'll allow her to sleep at night and hopefully allow him to not have to be so fearful himself. Okay. My understanding is that I don't think you're taking it long-term. It might be for a year or so, but that was the one thing that I was unclear about. Like, do you have to take it the entire time or do you kind of train your body over a year's period of time so you don't have to take it over? After that point. The problem is that it is expensive. Allergists are already doing this off label to protect children. But because long-term use of it is expensive, that insurance companies might not want to pay for it. The part that really I think is most important here, and it's something that, to be totally honest, shocked me because I feel like I know, but Black children have the highest rate of peanut allergies. Asian children have the highest rate of other tree nut allergies. And households that make less than 150,000 are the highest rates. The lower your income, the more likely you have more allergies.
Wow.
And so this affects us. This can affect us greatly. Okay. And I think the reason why I found it shocking, because in my head, and I'm curious what other people think, when I think about kids that have a whole lot of allergy, I'm always thinking it's a bunch of white kids. And part of the issue here is that we need to get this information. It is off the radar for us.
Wait a minute, hold on, Doc. I gotta stop you. Because this is mind blowing. You said that those of us, speaking of folks in the Black community who have the lowest income, their children are often the ones with the highest amount of allergies. So if your income, so basically the food disparity is not just about access, but it's also about the fact that your children, like if you're eating certain types of food, let's just throw it out to some fast food, and that's your thing each day or every other day, you are basically just eating yourself into a grave because you're not giving your bodies the extra nutrients from fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, and other things like that. You're keeping your body in a state of impoverishment, it sounds like. Am I understanding this correctly?
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, and I don't think you're wrong in that. Basically, your body is confusing these everyday substances as being something different than what it is. And the immune system is not strong enough, or that's where the error is occurring. So somewhere along the line, and I find it interesting that the research that was showing that a lot of it has to do with income, I did find interesting because I was like, well, what's money got to do with it? But because it's not whether it's diagnosed or not, because I could see that being the issue, right? It's actual prevalence of it. And so I think it has to do with getting the right nutrients, whether it's during the pregnancy or early on in age, that allows your immune system to be strong enough to not have this error occur. And like I said, this was when I think part of it is that who is going to the doctor for potential allergies, how many are actually going to the emergency room instead, getting fixed up and being sent back out without getting the follow-up so that they actually know what's going on. I think that's where the issue might be occurring. So, I mean, it's interesting information. Like this Xolair is not just for your average kid with, a milk allergy. This is for the families that have multiple issues that they're dealing with. And this is so that you don't have to be fearful of your kid interacting with others, going to school, eating whatever it may be by mistake. So this is for a select group that have the most, that have the potential of the worst outcome.
Tia Z said, "Thank God we weren't allergic to peanut butter. My parents' budget would say." Because peanut butter is a staple in the household, in the pantry.
It is. Yep.
That is probably one of the easiest go-to
protein.
It's like a meal, protein-based meal in the jar, right? It's peanut butter, oatmeal. You have a lot of potatoes, rice, or French fries, or regular potatoes, yams, and sweet potatoes, and all of those things. So these are like staples. And now, I mean, we're probably going to have to. I don't know if this will ever be done, but there's going to have to be some updated, modified version of the food chart, right? Because today's children, and I hear this from a lot of Black children, it's a lot of allergies, Doc. I mean, a lot of allergies. And it's so interesting that schools in this country, still, you got to fight tooth and nail for them to switch up on their diet. Like, some schools don't offer gluten-free. Some schools don't offer, they don't accommodate the vegan eater, right? The vegan child eater. They don't accommodate the lactose child drinker. They don't accommodate, and it's like, damn, we living in 2 or 3 of different Americas, because if children having all these allergies, then how come the schools, the place they spend the most time, can't even accommodate them? This is a major problem.
It is a problem because we're talking about schools that may be struggling with budgets, that this is not their biggest concern, right? And the fact of the matter is that schools that have bigger budgets have specific classrooms. They have different accommodations. They are doing more for this. But if the school system does not, I grew up in Detroit, right? If the school system does not have the budget, and your biggest issue are much bigger than what's being served at lunch. But according to what I'm seeing here, we need to be much more aware of this in our communities. And we need to realize what does allergies look like, right? Particularly every time you have an exposure, that response gets worse. Okay.
Ooh.
So Johnny might have had this little reaction. What was that? And I don't know what that was. Well, you kind of blow it off, and little by little, exposure by exposure, they'll get to a point where it's much more intense. And how quickly that develops depends on, the child and their body and what the allergy may be. So we need to be aware of what does an allergy even look like. Okay. And then making sure that we're getting the adequate treatment to make sure that we see the allergist and get the testing, because there's a big difference between what is considered a convincing allergy. That means that the self-reported, the parent shares, and it fits in the line of what an allergy should be, versus a physician diagnosed allergy, where they're having the skin testing and finding out what their immunoglobulin levels are and doing an actual food challenge. We need to get the right diagnosis so that we can get the right response, so that we're not putting our child in harm.
That is. Dr. Bridget, are you going to be having an after chat today?
I am not, because it is still Tuesday. but it is not Monday. But I am now doing, I start at 6 o'clock. I do mainly the healthy relationships only, starting at 6 now. We do a quick review of what we talked about with you. And then we go into our subject, which we will start again in the new year. And I did this last year. I'm doing it this year. Wellness 24 this year. I have a private group on Facebook where we work together at doing a self-discovery for the new year. So if anyone is interested, send me a direct message on my Instagram at Dr. Bridget MD. Say that you want to be a part of Wellness 24. We'll get you in that group. We had incredible time last year just going through different lessons about health and diet and mental health and what have you. We keep it private so that people can really share and so that you have a great new year.
There it is right there. Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams back with us once again for year 2024. Make sure y'all follow her on all social media platforms at Dr. Bridget. She's doing a phenomenal job. She has a dope video of all the great things that happened to her in 2023. And you know what I'm saying? The only problem with the video is my face is actually not in the video.
It is. I don't know what you're talking about. You're in the video.
Oh, okay. I got to look at it again because I looked at it and I didn't see my face. But anyway.
Like I'm going to leave you out. Like I'm going to look at the look. We can play it. You're in the video.
No, I don't want to play it right now. You know what, Doc? I don't want to do this with you right now. I can't right now. I can't. But make sure y'all follow her. She's dope. She brings a lot of insight to the table. Also, she has the book Courage in Cannabis that is on sale and available right now, folks. Volume 1, Volume 2. You hear from people from all across the country share their stories about cannabis use and how it has changed their lives for the better in a medical perspective. So she's doing all of that. But Dr. Bridget, I look forward to having a phenomenal year with you once again. But thank you so much for being with us on Tuesday, right here on The Culture.
Absolutely. Thank you, Farajii.
I appreciate you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for checking in and being a part of the conversation. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Make sure you follow us on our social media platforms, the Black Star Network. Make sure you let people know that the show is happening, that we have these dope conversations. Crew, y'all know how we do. Y'all have been doing phenomenal in 2023. We're looking to make it bigger 2024. I got some new voices joining us and over the next couple of weeks that's going to serve as contributors. So I want you to have your full support. But I thank you for making 2023 such a banner year. And if God willing, we'll do the same thing in 2024. But stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered, 6 p.m. Eastern time. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Peace.